الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers, youngsters, elders, sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today, inshallah, I want to look at very briefly a short, very eloquent surah of the Quran, that is Surah Asr. There's so many different ways to look at this, and the books of tafsir, they are full with lengthy tafsir about Surah Asr, the different topics. Instead, what we'll do is we'll just look at one or two key points, and then inshallah we can have something to take back with us. Surah Asr, this is a Meccan surah. This is pretty much agreed upon. Some of the Mufassirun, they argued, or they were of the opinion that it's a Medinan surah, but majority of the Mufassirun, they agree that it's a Meccan surah. And the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in this surah is of the declining day. You can imagine the last part of the day is not 12 o'clock, but it's the time before Maghrib, because that's when dark starts. And if you've ever been to the village life, everyone closes up around Maghrib time and goes to sleep. Unlike the cities, people stay awake late. Cities are now, they're known by how late things are open, what's the nightlife like. But villages, people go to sleep. At least they should get everything done. And after Maghrib, wait a bit, pray Isha and go to sleep straight away. So that last part of the day, this is the example Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving in this surah, right? And He's given the example, what's He comparing it to our life, right? The time between Asr and Maghrib is very short, and that's exactly our life. That our life is now, it's coming to it. We're always living our life as if it's coming to its end. It's in the last part of it. It's just about to finish now. So what does Allah say? Allah says, by the passage of time. So I saw 3 different translations that you can do. Wal Asr, right? By the passage of time, by the decline of time, or by the decline of day. Right? The word Asr, it refers to either the time of Asr, or refers to a time period. Okay? Or just time in general. Allah says, indeed humanity is in grave loss, except those who have faith, do good, and urge each other to the truth, and urge each other to sabr, patience, perseverance. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions 4 things. That the claim, right? The claim is everyone's in lost. Humanity is at loss, except 4 people, or those who do carry out 4 actions. Now this surah is so important that the Sahaba, they would often meet each other, and they spend some time together, and before they leave, they would recite, and they remind each other of the message of Surah Asr. They recite it to each other. So that would be the final, part of the company. Not, okay bro, see you later, safe, right, take care. But rather they finish off by saying, Wal Asr. They remind each other of this. Okay, until next time, keep this message in mind. Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, he said that if there was no part of the Quran that was revealed, and the only part of the Quran that was revealed was Wal Asr, this would be enough for people's guidance. Okay, so the message in this is quite, important. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, we can divide the 4 parts into 2 sections. The first section is to do with people's own personal betterment. And the second part is betterment of society at large, and of the Muslim Ummah at large, or you can extend it as far as you want. Betterment of the family life, of friendship, the community, and the nation, and the Ummah at large, right? But what is this wal asr that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes? This is one of the oaths that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes in the Quran. Now, Allah takes, does anyone remember any of the oaths that He takes? He takes an oath by something. No, you have some. Any of the oaths that Allah takes? He takes oaths by things. What's yeah?
By time.
We are looking at time, so other than this. So Duha, yeah. What else? Wal Fajr, okay. Wal Layl. Qiyamah. Oh yes. Okay, anything else? What Tur?
The time.
Sorry?
The time?
Other than the time, we are looking at the time.
The pen.
Oh, pen, yes. Wal Qalam, okay.
The things that he's already written, like your risk and like when you're gonna die, those things.
He takes oath by that?
I think I might have confused myself.
Okay.
You say the late.
I think someone said Wal Layl. Yes, Wat Deen. Okay. What else? What's after Wat Deen? No. What's with Wat Deen? Wat Deeni was Zaytoon. Wa Turi Sinin. Wa Hadha al-Balad al-Amin. Okay. So these are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes oath by them. Right? Why does Allah take these oaths? Well, first of all, because these are things they have significance. Right? But in the sight of Allah, nothing is significant. Right? The world is insignificant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So why does Allah take oath? The reason why Allah takes oath, this is a point that Mullah Maududi mentions. He says the reason why Allah takes oath by these objects is not because they have something significant about them in and of themselves, but rather these things, they always point towards the truth that humans need. These things, they lead towards a certain truth, right? Or they help people to see the truth by pondering over these things. Okay? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes oath by time, right? By the declining day, then it's for us to actually ponder over it, because it shows us the truth. Now, what is the oath testifying in this surah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying He's taking an oath by these things, by time, because time is testifying that humans are at loss. Right? Time is testifying that humans are at loss, except those who have the 4 characteristics or qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in this surah. Now, time includes the past, and it also includes the future, present and future. Right? Just think about your own past. How much of that have you used, for good, to learn something? How much of our past have we used for, just in ghafla, right? In, heedlessness, right? How many years have we put off something and said, okay, this year, this is the skill I'm going to learn. I'm going to read this many books. I'm going to lose weight this year, right? I'm going to hit the gym every single week, etc., etc. How many, years have we been doing this? And out of all the targets that we've had in our personal life, by the way, right, have we actually carried them out? I would say, I don't know, happens with me anyway. Most of my targets, they probably get lost. I end up carrying them out the way I should have done so. Now, humanity at large, if you look at history, it's full of, pain, it's full of bloodshed, and when we look back at history, it helps us to reflect that what kind of losses people have, had, whether that's individuals or as nations, as empires. Now, when we think about time in the current stage and in the future, then every moment that passes, we are losing something. We are at loss. What are we losing? We are losing time. We are losing a portion of ourselves. Right? In Arabic, couplet of the poem is that, we are nothing but a few breaths. Right? Every time we take we breathe, we are losing a portion of us. Right? We are nothing but, few breaths. With every breath that we take, we are losing a portion of us. Right? Now, Allah says, Insan, innal insana fi khusr. Insan is at loss. Right? The hours, the days, the months, life just passes really, really quickly. And every single day, our greatest wealth that we have is time. But every single moment, we are losing a part of this wealth that we have. And this wealth is something, if you look at it from a business perspective, you have, certain items that you can just store, no problem. And whether it sells quickly or not, nothing can happen to it. Right? But there are certain things that you have to sell immediately. Right? And if it doesn't get sold immediately, then it's going to go to waste. For example, like bread, milk, eggs, these are things that need to be sold immediately. Right? Our life is of the second type. It's something that's passing every single moment. Right? It's our capital, but this capital is diminishing every single moment. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, he highlighted this in a hadith. He said, كُلُّ النَّاسِ يَغْدُو فَبَايِعُ نَفْسَهُ فَمُعْتِقُهَا أَوْ مُوبِقُهَا. Every single person, he wakes up in the morning and he sells himself. You're doing a business transaction with yourself, with your time, your energy, your body. What will happen is, you will either free yourself or people destroy themselves. You destroy yourself. So every morning you wake up and you do a business transaction with yourself. You either free yourself through this transaction or you destroy yourself. Right? And this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Allah uses the word tijara. He says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى تِجَارَةٍ تُنْجِيكُم مِّنْ عَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. O people, should I tell you of a transaction, a tijara, business deal, that will save you from this painful punishment? Right? Now this time that we have, that's our greatest capital, and that's the only capital we bring into the world actually. Right? And that's the only capital, that's the only thing that keeps us in this world. There's nothing else. As soon as our time runs out, we're not going to remain. So in reality, the only thing that keeps us alive is the time that we have. This is a capital that will continuously, it's fluid and it's continuously being spent. And there's no way to actually pause it. There's no way to hit the pause button on this, because it's continuously flowing. Imam Razi, the great tafsir scholar, he says that I understood, or I appreciated the meaning of this surah, Wal Asr, by an ice cream seller. Right? Why? Because, as you know, there were no ice cream vans with the freezers to store the ice cream, etc., etc. It had to be sold quickly, otherwise it was gone. So he was walking once, Imam Razi, and he heard in the market, he heard the ice cream seller say that, he was calling out, have mercy on the one whose wealth is melting away. He was telling people, right, have mercy on the one whose wealth is melting away. His wealth is ice cream, And he's telling people, please come and buy my ice cream quickly before it all melts away. Right? So he realized, that's exactly our life. Our life is melting away at each and every moment. Right? The only way to save it from melting away is by using it for khair. Right? Your money, you can just spend it, waste it, or you can actually have some, some returns to your capital. Right? Such as with life, it's gonna go, it's gonna melt. Now we can either use it for the good and have some benefit from it, or it will just go. So who's actually saved from this? Right? What are the four characteristics that are saved from this? Number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Iman. Iman is, at its base form, at its basic level, it's just verbal affirmation. That, I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you affirm your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Iman in its true form is that you have complete tasadduq, you have complete tasdeeq of Allah subhanahu, you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you. And you happily accept it. This is Iman in its form. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. Believers are those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after belief, they never ever let doubts come to them. Right? Once they believe, then they're not shaken. Right? This is the true form of Iman. And similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, aminu billahi wa rasulihi. O believers, believe in Allah and His Messenger. There's faith, accepting, and then there's Iman. Iman in its true form is that you accept whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees for you. And then with Iman comes the actions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated for us. These are the salihat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for us, the good actions that we must perform. Sometimes people ask, recently I was asked a question by some of some teenagers that, the questions along the line of, can Muslims marry a good non-Muslim? What will happen to good non-Muslims after they die, right? What about a good gay person, right? Or what about, these kind of questions. Now, there's, answers for all these questions, but where do they stem from, right? Questions along these lines, right? They stem from not understanding the value of Iman, the weight that Iman actually has, right? That whatever action we do, actually they're only of benefit and consequence, if it's based on Iman, if it comes because of Iman. Otherwise, without faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's actually no reason why someone shouldn't steal. There's no reason, right, why someone shouldn't, there's no reason for me to, why shouldn't I go and steal so I can have a better life? What's the difference? Why is it wrong? Right? Why would I want to go and, sacrifice so much of my time, my energy, and, my wealth, go through so much headaches just to raise a family? Right? Without Iman, there's no real reason to do this. We do this because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that this is the pure way. This is the way that's in line with fitrah. Okay? Now, the relationship between faith and actions is like that of the seed and of the tree. For a plant, for a fruit tree to grow, you have to plant the seed first. Right? And now, without the seed, there's not going to be any, nothing growing. But sometimes you plant the seed and yet still nothing grows. Right? It's probably because that the seed has been lost. right? It's not being looked after. Or the seed itself is, there's something wrong with it, it's corrupted, right? But the better the seed, the more it's looked after, the more it's, watered, the easier and the better the growth of the tree. Ourselves and our children are exactly like that. The more we look after them, the more we water them, plant them, right, and raise them, nurture them, the better their actions will be, right? And same for ourselves as well. The more we work on our iman, then our actions, everything else becomes a lot easier to practice and to do. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that these are the two qualities that we have to implement individually. Nobody can come and increase us in iman. Nobody can come and, make us worship or, make us enjoy worship. Okay? It's something that we have to do ourselves. But then the second part, Allah says, two qualities where we now also work on those that are with us and around us. What is that? That we invite others towards the truth, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, towards patience. Now, we know that in society, right, at least the society we see around us, it's easily corruptible, isn't it? With with all the technology we have, with all the influence that people are able to hold over, over youngsters, right? How people are able to, change someone's entire lifestyle with a 30-second clip of TikTok. That's phenomenal when you think about it, right? For the good and bad, actually, not just for, I'm just saying for a bad way. The fact that, parents can raise a child his entire life or her entire life, and then suddenly a 1-minute clip from TikTok can go and totally confuse someone. This is, influence that's never been seen in human history before, right? But what do we do about this? Well, one thing that we do about this is that we are constantly reminding each other of the truth, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here, right? If we don't, if society is not encouraging each other and no one's bothered, no one's speaking out against what's haram, the wrongs in society, then society will be corrupted. And we see this, happening, right? When you often have I'm not going to name any particular people, but let's just say they, right? They are happy with Muslims going to the masjid, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing your zikr, do whatever you want, no problem. They are happy with Muslims inviting other people to the masjid, come and read namaz, no problem. No one's going to stop you, by the way. They're happy with Muslims wearing whatever they want. What are they not happy with Muslims doing? It's speaking against, right? It's speaking against corruption that's taking place in society. They are not happy with Muslims speaking against, certain family structures which are against human nature, which are not the norm throughout human society, right? Why? Because it goes against what's popular in society. When you go against the grain, that's when they are not pleased with you, and they won't allow you to ever speak. But this is exactly when, when you give a finger, a hand, and they take the entire arm. Society, once corruption is allowed to spread even a little bit in society, then it spreads like wildfire. And there is no way to put water and there's no way to control this fire then. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the role and the need to invite others towards Islam, this is something that's very, very important. And it's actually our responsibility as the Muslim Ummah to invite others and to remind each other. Right? And da'wah is actually not just for non-Muslims. Da'wah is also for Muslims as well. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَوَاسَوْا, which comes from wasiyah, which means to, advise someone, to try to advise someone effectively in the best way possible. Now the truth, what is the truth? The truth is the correct faith, of course, first of all, good deeds, and to invite towards sabr, patience. Now, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he explains this. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions two factors, right? To do wasiyah of two things, the haqq and of sabr, patience. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do this? Well, he says, there are actually just two things which stop a person's faith and his actions. Right? For the faith, what prevents someone from believing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's either, it's either of a intellectual, it's some kind of doubt that arises regarding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regarding faith, belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this requires people to actually go and study and to try to tackle this challenge, this intellectual challenge. Right? And to address this, Allah says that we invite towards the truth, the haqq. All people are prevented from doing, from believing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or carrying out the good deeds because of their desires. Shahwa. Right? Sometimes it's actually easier to convince. Sometimes, people are, they have some doubts about Islam, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's easy to convince them and remove these doubts. What's really dangerous is when people are not bothered about Islam because they can't be, they're just too much in sin. They don't want to give up the lifestyle. Then there's no way to intellectually, have a dialogue with this person, and there's no way to bring them out or try to convince them of why they need to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Because they're just so, indulged in sins, in shahwa, that they don't want to leave it. Right? So Ibn Taymiyyah says, so the first is doubt about faith. And that is why we do wasiyah of the truth. And number two, he says it's that either people are, they have so much selfish desires that they don't want to go and pray salah. They don't want to, put themselves in a bit of difficulty for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But by stressing upon, advising upon truth, in this ayah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the first factor. And by stressing on advising towards patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing the second. Now I'm going to finish off, inshallah ta'ala. But I want to mention something from a great scholar by the name of Sahl al-Tusturi. He was asked, what is patience exactly? Right? He said, it's contentment, rida, and inner verification of the truth. What's known as tasdeeq al-sidq. What is patient? Is a rida, that you're content, you're happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you. Then he was asked, okay, well, how long is a person supposed to remain patient? He said, well, until relief comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Till relief comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person remains patient. Not 2 weeks or a year, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, removes this difficulty from him. And then he said that there are two kind of people. Those who are patient for something of this world. Right? People will wake up early and go to work really hard, come back, sacrifice time with family, sacrifice the time with friendships, events, because they're trying to chase something. They're trying to get their business up. So, for 2 years, 3 years, just work, 7 days a week, non-stop. Right? Anyone who does this will definitely get what they want. Whatever they're trying to achieve in terms of worldly, you'll definitely get it. Because you're patient, you're trying to chase something. And then it's not haram, right? If you have a goal, bismillah, go for it. You remain firm upon it, you're going to get it. Right? And then he says there are people who are patient for the akhirah. That they will practice all kind of, they will overcome, they will remain patient all difficulties for the sake of the akhirah. Right? And then we'll ask, okay, well, this remaining patient for the akhirah, does it have different kinds? Right? How do you remain patient for the akhirah? He said that there are 4 levels to this. 3 are obligatory, and 1 is, it's a fadila, it's extra virtue. Number 1, that we are patient in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 2, he said that we are patient in remaining away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's what Imam Ghazali calls the most difficult form of patience. Being patient from sin, leaving sin. Right? And number 3, that we are patient whenever we find, whenever an affliction comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We remain patient from this. Right? And we remain patient. We know it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? You remain patient and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove this. If He doesn't remove it, He's going to reward us for the akhirah. These are the 3 obligatory. The person has no choice, right, but to be patient when he faces these difficulties. And then he says the 4th level is patient in the face of the acts of his, other people. When someone wrongs us, we can either forgive them, right, or we can take our revenge. Take back what we're owed. If we remain patient, then this is extra virtue. But remaining patient for the sake of Allah upon His worship, and remaining patient, right, in staying away, refraining from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the most difficult kind of patience we have, patience that person can hold. When we are afflicted by something, we know, look, one day it's going to go. Either while we're alive or with death. Right? It's going to be removed. And then the believer, has this firm belief that when I go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the hadith the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, one dip in Jannah, and he will be someone who's never faced any good. Not a moment of any kind of pleasure in his life. Not even a moment. As soon as he goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one dip in Jannah, and he'll be asked, do you ever remember facing any kind of difficulties? I don't ever remember. I don't ever remember facing any kind of difficulty. Right? We believe this, and we have faith in this, and we know that whatever affliction comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove. This surah lay down important principles of guidance for us, and it's something for us to really think about, to memorize, to understand. There's so much written on this surah. I'm pretty sure you can find plenty of lectures on this as well. I would encourage everyone to go and to study this surah further, listen to lectures, inshallah, read what ulama have written about this, and you will benefit from this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to protect us from this loss, to use our time, our wealth in a productive way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us these four qualities. Jazakumullah khairan.